All right, friends, it's T-Man. We are back again with a Blaha video. We're going to react to the gym lifting, recruiting, fitness, gear slaves video he posted. Blaha says the Asian paradox with the claim the rice is fattening. Well, I wouldn't say it's fattening. It definitely is accelerating deterioration in your body, the deterioration, because of the arsenic. So you're going to shorten your lifespan.
The Asian paradox is a problem for people who think that rice is fattening. Hey everybody, it's JasonBlaha here. Thought I would chat with you.
It is fattening. It'll become fat when you exceed a level of breakdown. See what I mean? It'll start to spill over and it'll become fat. It'll store it as fat.
You guys and gals a little bit.
Look, excessive amounts of carbs will store as fat. It's a known fact in science. Man, you can look it up. It's everywhere, okay? It's like, I don't know how to explain this. So these people building sarcoplasmic muscles, when glycogen exceeds that breakdown, that sarcoplasm expands. Okay, now when you go over a certain amount, which, you know, sometimes you're not sure how much you're doing to exceed that breakdown, whatever, and you eat excessive amounts of it, well, the excessive amounts that are, you know, not loading, they will be loaded, they'll become fat. That's what's going to happen.
About this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys would click like down below, it would be greatly appreciated. If you would please follow or subscribe if you are not yet, and drop me a comment down under the video. I would appreciate it so much. Thank you if you do that, just to say hello or to give your thoughts on the video. All right, this is a problem. You know, you have people who bring all this stuff up and they're like, rice is terrible, rice is fattening, even white rice.
No, it's terrible because it has arsenic in it. And if it is arsenic, what does arsenic do to stem cells? You know, that's a question. I've never really asked that question. Let's find out. What does arsenic do to stem cells? Let's find out. What does arsenic and... Arsenic, particularly when ingested through contaminated rice, can negatively impact stem cell differentiation and development. Studies have shown that arsenic exposure inhibits stem cells from differentiating into specific cell types, potentially affecting organ and tissue development and function. Well, that can't be good now, can it? Inhibition and differentiation. Arsenic exposure disrupts the normal process of stem cells differentiating. Okay. Signal pathway, neurodevelopment. Wow, okay. Exposure to arsenic, especially during development, can lead to neurodevelopment issues. Wow, that's not good either. Impaired learning, memory, and reduced intelligence. Well, we definitely don't want to reduce our intelligence or impair our learning or memory. Yeah. Cancer development. Wow. Yeah, arsenic. I've known this before. Yeah. Risk of cancer. Specific cell type affected. Rice as a source. It's really a survival kind of food. It's slave food diet. I recommend you don't do it. But, you know, there are people that will still hit. But whatever. They never learned their lessons.
Rice is terrible. Rice is fattening. Even white rice. It causes...
Rice is dangerous.
Diabetes. It causes...
It does. It can cause diabetes. It can cause cancer. It can cause neurological development, like it said there. Learning disabilities. Fuck your intelligence, you know.
Obesity causes all these different problems.
Yes, it does cause all these problems. And obesity, yes.
Okay, they make this point. And,
okay,
you know, here's the issue with that.
Yes.
And I'm gonna...
What is the issue with that, Blaha? I can't wait to hear his explanation.
Really debunk even the best explanation people have who try to claim that it's a problem, but then they'll claim, well, it's genetics. I'm going to debunk that too. No, this population has nothing special that makes them resistant to it in their genes. All right, okay. So let's get over to that point. We see this all through Asia, all throughout history for hundreds of years now, really. Rice has been for most of East Asia, South Asia, but particularly you go look at all of East Asia, all of it. I don't care if you're talking about China, Japan, Vietnam, Singapore, it doesn't matter, Korea. All these...
Man, I don't know why they've continued in this fucking tradition to keep eating. It's become a tradition to eat rice. Okay, it was considered slave food diet when people were in famine. They ate whatever was available. You understand me? And if that was available, rice, they ate fucking rice, okay? But because they continued eating it, do they have to? No. I don't know why they're still doing it. It doesn't make sense. We're not in a famine.
Different countries. They don't have an obesity problem. They don't have a diabetes problem.
No, they have an addiction problem is what they have. They have a problem. Their problem is they're addicted. It's an addiction problem.
Right? Yet rice is the single largest source of calories. And oftentimes it is white rice. It's not necessarily brown.
Exactly. Calories in what? Energy. It's energy. That's what it is. I think people don't even understand what's really accelerating your aging, the aging process. What's accelerating it? Energy. You don't wanna lose energy. You understand me? And this food is energy food. It's a drug. It's energy in the form of a drug, okay, or food or whatever you want to call it. And that makes you work harder than the last time. That's what it does. Gives you this boost of energy, and then you want to work yourself to death, and that's going to accelerate more aging or deterioration faster. You're going to deteriorate faster than you're aging, okay?
Like, oh, they're having the meal. No, they do plenty of white rice. Okay? They don't have these problems. And it's not an issue of, oh, they're all starving third world. Plenty of them are not. They have access to lots and lots of rice. All right? They're also, fairly physically active, but here's the issue. These problems don't exist.
Yeah, what's the issue? These problems, they don't exist. Yes, they're just in your head, right, Blaha?
These problems don't exist. Why?
Don't exist.
Because starchy carbohydrates are simply not linked with obesity or diabetes. They're just not. These are not problematic. Like when we really look at the science behind obesity.
Okay, because it's a starch. It's a complex carbohydrate. But can it cause diabetes? Rice. If you eat enough of it, if you eat too much of it, can it cause? Here's the thing. What I discovered was when I did previously I did a video on sarcoplasmic hypertrophy training, all right? I did a couple of weeks sarcoplasmic. I did videos on it. This was on my old channel. And I'm going to tell you right now, it caused me to become dysfunctional. It caused my mitochondria to become dysfunctional. I almost even became menopausal, which is even more crazy. So, yeah, it caused me a lot of problems because I consumed a lot of starch, okay? Now, it wasn't rice. I was doing potatoes, but it's still starch, just like rice, starch. But regardless, I can imagine if I was doing rice. I can only imagine if I did rice that whole time. I think I did eat some rice. But rice is terrible because the arsenic again. But yeah, I've done rice. And again, it will make you dysfunctional, your mitochondria, and it'll make you menopausal or some shit, especially when you're an older person. You're really going to be screwed.
Obesity, insulin resistance, these things, starches are very rarely the problem. In fact, we don't even see it with
That's not true.
Like, how many countries don't have an obesity problem that still do large amounts of wheat? In the West, in Europe.
They don't. They have a balanced diet between the slave food diet and their natural diet, which is meat. See what I mean? It's balanced.
Historically, till you start adding all the fat.
It's when it becomes unbalanced, that's when you have problems. That's why you see these obese people, they eat more carbs than they would ever eat anything natural. They eat shitloads of carbs, like weird foods, like pizza, pasta, this, that. They really eat a huge slave food diet.
To it. Okay? Pasta, even to some extent, more traditional breads, not always a problem. And I would consider bread to be a pretty processed food, personally. Not usually on my to-do list to eat.
It's when you start consuming it as your staple, that's when it becomes a problem. And you don't eat your natural diet, which is meat. So then you don't have you lack these nutrients. So yeah, you'll deteriorate. That's why people die fast if they just eat bread and water. Prisoners are gone, dude.
It's not that problematic. We just don't see it.
It is problematic.
Of course, people try to make the silly things, well, wheat is different here. So no. Whatever genes or proteins you think are in the wheat are still not what's causing obesity. You don't start storing starches and glucose as fats in humans because of that. It's not how it works. This will be detected in the lab. All right, here's the thing. Humans thrive on starches. This is our preferred primary fuel source.
No, it's not. He's lying to you. Our preferred fuel source is animal fat. That's a known fact. All right. Mitochondria can use both carbohydrates and animal fats for energy production. They can, but they prefer what? Fatty acids, especially under certain conditions. While carbohydrates can be converted into energy faster, I know that, that's the whole point. Particularly during intense exercises, cells can also readily utilize fats for energy. In general, the body can switch between these fuel sources depending on the availability, energy, and the intensity of the activity. But we work better on animal fat. You understand me? That's the preferred, like there. The preferred fatty acids, but they prefer what? Fatty acids. Mitochondria as energy generators. Mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell, responsible for converting molecules, whatever, carbohydrates, fats into usable energy and ATP. But when you get older, you're going to become dysfunctional. Do you understand me? Look, with time. Yes, excessive carbohydrate intake can contribute to mitochondrial dysfunction over time. Studies have shown that high carbohydrate diets, especially those high in sugars, can lead to changes in mitochondrial membrane structure and function, impacting what? Cellular energy production. This can be linked to reduced mitochondrial biogenesis and creation of new mitochondria and altered mitochondrial respiratory chain function. So, you don't want to become dysfunctional, and it can cause metabolic problems and a whole bunch of other things, bro. They just talk about it here, but whatever. I'm not going to get into it. It can also cause diabetes. Hold on. Metabolic consequences. Mitochondria can contribute to metabolic disorders like insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, where the body cells become less responsive to insulin. So, can make you even insulin resistant. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious. I mean, I don't know what Blaha's talking about, what he's trying to pull here, making these crazy videos, dude.
This is what we handle. Not saying we don't handle fats or proteins. We can, but we thrive on starch, and we don't store starches as fat.
We don't thrive on it. We function better on animal fatty acids. We don't function. We can function with carbohydrates, but with time, you'll become dysfunctional. You understand me?
We just don't. Never under the skin and only in small amounts visceral, right? So this is not a problem, and it also doesn't cause insulin resistance.
Yes,
a lot
it
of
does.
people are like, well, I keep the carbs there lower to keep insulin.
It does cause insulin resistance. It told you right there. It said it causes insulin resistance. Get it? And it can cause type 2 diabetes and a bunch of other things, cancer and diseases and shit.
But these carbohydrates are not the cause, meaning glucose-based carbohydrates are not linked to insulin resistance.
Okay, so he's going to say that rice is not the cause, but rice has arsenic in it. So what does arsenic do? What does arsenic do to mitochondria? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's see. Arsenic exposure impairs mitochondrial function and disrupts metabolic processes, potentially leading to metabolic diseases like obesity and diabetes. But he says rice is not a problem. Rice is not going to cause you is not going to cause you obesity or diabetes, but rice has arsenic. And when you expose yourself to rice, which has arsenic, it's going to cause you metabolic diseases like obesity and diabetes. But he says it's not, and it's going to cause you it's going to cause your mitochondria. It's going to impair it. Arsenic disrupts mitochondrial membrane potential, alters fatty acid metabolism, and impacts cellular energy production, contributing to oxidative stress and inflammation. Yeah, it's a known fact, bro. Mitochondrial dysfunction, mitochondrial DNA damage, we don't want that. Inhibition of enzymes, mitochondrial biogenesis, mitochondrial membrane performance, obesity and diabetes, insulin resistance, dysfunction, energy balance, mitochondria, oxidative stress, inflammation, altered adipose tissue function. Wow. I mean, I just don't understand Blaha, bro. I just don't get him. But whatever.
Resistance in humans. It's the more refined fructoses that are, specific types of sugar are.
Well, fructose definitely is going to destroy you. There's new reports it'll cause you brain damage and mitochondrial dysfunction.
Hey, it's the fructose.
If you ask any marketing professional,
Refined fructoses that are, specific types of sugar are. Hey, it's the fructose load in the liver. Saturated fat is largely linked to it. Some cases, certain sources of monounsaturated could be.
Not animal fat.
You start talking insulin resistance outside of obesity-induced insulin resistance. We're talking about saturated fat. We're talking about refined sugars. This is what does it. And when I say the saturated fat, I'm not talking about you eating a sirloin steak. We're talking about the really fatty stuff. I'm talking about stuff that still wouldn't really exist without feeding it a certain way and then processing it a certain way. Things like butter, bacon, sausage. Like this is what...
Butter, bacon, and sausage. I don't know about bacon or sausage, which is processed with like nitrates from plants, but butter is very good for you.
We're talking about. We're not talking about a relatively lean cut of red meat. We're not talking about 90-10 ground beef. We're not talking about sirloin steak or flank steak. That is not what we were talking about.
Okay.
What about fattier cuts, maybe. But then these other things, where you're just separating the fat out into butter, lard, beef tallow. These are problems.
Lard, beef tallow.
Now, seed oils are a huge factor for obesity, too.
What about lard and beef tallow? That's what kept people healthy when they were eating that fast food before, when they were using it.
And I don't think we can discount that. But all these issues, this is...
Seed oils, they bind with your receptors. They don't allow testosterone to get in there. Even if you had low testosterone, it will be even worse because it's blocking it. Causes all kinds of problems, seed oils.
What's creating our issues is refined fats, excess fat of any type, but then refined fats and refined sugars. It's not the starchy carbohydrates. You don't see it in these cultures.
That's a lie. You see it in the cultures. There are fat Asian people out there. Believe me, there's fat Asian people. How it affects each person, I don't know. Maybe differently, whatever. I can't tell you. You know what I mean? How these foods affect these people. Depends on their thyroid function, whatever. I don't know.
These massive countries and massive populations with all this rice, you don't see it. People will they'll be like, maybe those people...
Well, again, they have a balanced, kind of what you call a balanced slave food diet, because they're balancing it out. They're not just eating one thing more than the other. That's the thing, see what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, gene never resisted. Then explain bodybuilders.
What about bodybuilders?
Okay. How many groups of pro bodybuilders, some of the greatest bodybuilders all on earth, all through the U.S., all through Europe?
What great bodybuilders?
Get absolutely shredded on chicken, rice, and vegetables. Lean protein.
Oh, they get shredded on that? No, they don't. They get shredded taking anabolic steroids. What are you talking about?
Lean or fish. Lean protein, rice, and vegetables.
No, they don't.
Just like these Asian countries are often building their staples around. Get shredded down to nearly zero body fat, no visible body fat.
Yeah, they took a drug to do that.
Left while eating this way.
It wasn't the eating that got them there. Why doesn't Blaha just tell you they took drugs?
This is not an Asian-dominated demographic. It's usually Europeans and those of African ancestry. That's usually who are all these top bodybuilders. I'm not saying exclusively.
Dude, what is that? 1 rep? Concentric exercise does not build muscle, dude. That's why you're looking worse and worse all the time. The more time that satellite cell stays quiescent, Blaha, the more it becomes dysfunctional. I guess you just don't realize it. The more you keep it in quiescence and you don't activate it through muscle damage, the eccentric overload, then guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to become, eventually going to become dysfunctional. You're not even going to be able to regenerate anymore. You're not that old yet. You're what? You just turned 40, 48, you say? You're not that old yet. But when you do get old, I would say 60 is quite old. If you ever make it to 60, I don't know. But if you do make it to 60, you're going to be completely dysfunctional on this channel. I don't think people will even recognize you. I'll say 10 years from now. You're 48, 58, you'll be gone. Me, I'm 58. But when you turn 58, you're going to be gone, dude. If you look already this bad, like Mr. Shenko down the street, 85 years old, you're going to look like, what's his name? At 60, our good friend I Am Longevity, who looks 95. So I say I Am Longevity, he's 60, 61 now, right? So when Blaha reaches 58 or 60, he's going to look like I Am Longevity, 60, but looking 95 years old. Yeah. Because if Blaha looks 85 now, he's going to look 95 in 10 years.
But by and large, it's extremely biased. Okay? So if these groups, which is in what people are claiming, oh yeah, they're the ones who try to have all the starchy carbs, it makes them fat. Then how do they do it as bodybuilders? How do bodybuilders get insanely shredded eating these foods every day? And get down to body fat so low.
Easy. They took steroids. It's called anabolics. That's what they took. That's what they took. They took a drug, dude.
That they're almost dead and then have.
Stop lying. They took drugs. All right. Just tell the truth. They take drugs. They took drugs. That's what.
To regain some fat to stay alive after the show.
Jesus.
Because it's not a problem. Okay? This nonsense is a debunked hypothesis. You have epidemiology of these entire countries with populations in the hundreds of millions or billions who don't have this problem, consuming huge amounts of rice, including white rice. You see it then at the level of bodybuilders, the most jacked, shredded people on earth as a group.
Arsenic will shorten your lifespan. Consuming arsenic for long periods of time, like these Asian people, shortens their lifespans. It's a known fact. Now, what is making their lifespans a little bit longer than usual? Well, they start eating more pork. When they eat more animal products than they would consume rice, then definitely their lifespan would definitely extend. Now, if they eat more rice than they would eat more animal products, then it would shorten. See what I mean? Vice versa. Vice versa.
Tend to consume large amounts of rice. Individuals with the most muscle and lowest body fat, usually of any demographic of lifestyle, oftentimes thrive on rice.
No.
In other words, people
No, they don't thrive on rice. They did that because of famine.
Nonsense. And then when you go really look at the science in the lab, starches don't even really store as fat in humans, and they don't create insulin resistance. This is a problem for this hypothesis. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today.
It's like any other animal. They all know what they're supposed to eat. Koala bears eat eucalyptus, cows eat grass, but the moment they eat what they're not supposed to, like they tolerate it, but they're not supposed to. They eat grains, they eat corn. That's not their diet. Can they eat it? Yes. Can they consume it? Yes. Will they suffer? Yes. Just like humans. So when humans are tolerating these foods, these so-called rices and things, you understand me? We're tolerating it. And then we inject ourselves with booster shots and polio shots and whatever to suppress diseases that would be caused eating the slave food diet. Get it? So we continue in that behavior. It's kind of obvious. You already know this anyways. I don't need to tell anybody anything. See you in the next video, dudes.
It's been informative, and I'll talk to you.
Yeah, very uninformative. I'll see you in the next one. Tell me what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. Do not poison yourself. Do not demasculinize yourself. Masculinize yourself. You understand me? By not doing any of these things that make you demasculinized, make you feminized. They feminize you. See you in the next one, friends.